You are listening to the BlahCade podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus. Joining me, as always, not on the other side of the pond, but the other side of the world, Jared Morgan.
I'm over here again. And yes, here I am once again, ready for talk about stuff. I don't quite know what we're going to talk about today because it's a bit quiet on the digital pinball front, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling today is going to be the very definition of why this is the BlahCade podcast and not the BlahCade pinball podcast or digital pinball podcast or whatever.
Or the highly focused pinball chat podcast where we only talk about pinball.
Yes, because today
that's never going to fit on a t-shirt.
There's pretty much nothing happening this past week. I didn't play. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't play any digital pinball. I did put in some time on Paragon, just messing around with that. But news-wise, there's literally nothing. So today we're going to just do a lot of blahing, and who knows, maybe pinball
blahing about things.
Happen. Yes,
it's been the same for me too. And for me, this week has been frustrating because I've sort of gone, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind just dragging out the tablet and having a bit of pinball arcade stuff. But the week has just been so intense for me at work that I get home and I just go, and just can't brain even enough to drag out a pinball and flip pinball around and think about that. And then, towards the end of the week when things were getting a little bit better, I then had to go and do stuff, to try and research type 1 diabetes stuff for Sienna and get pump appointments lined up for next week, which is really good. So she'll be going on an insulin pump next week.
Yeah, I don't know if we haven't actually mentioned this to the audience, but since you're mentioning it, Jared's daughter, who is 4, is that correct?
4, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, had just gotten diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of put a few monkey wrenches into your life, huh?
In general, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of been an interesting transition to the life of a type 1 diabetes sufferer. But Sienna's, being a 4-year-old, she's actually taken it within a stride. And she's doing really good. But yeah, getting a pump will actually help us really manage that disease much better for her. And the good thing is in Australia, there's I think it's a bit different in America, but in Australia, there's a really good government support for type 1 diabetes. We have heavily subsidized testing strips, and you can get pumps on your private health insurance. And they've even got a continuous glucose monitoring initiative now where you can buy the very, very expensive Dexcom G5s and Medtronic monitoring systems that actually plug into your skin and constantly measure your blood glucose.
Oh, wow.
The exciting thing is that some of these systems will actually interface with a pump, so you almost have a bionic pancreas with them.
It's
pretty
bionics.
Cool. Yeah. So as you can tell from a geek's perspective, I'm well and truly getting into the tech behind this stuff because it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing that the only thing they're missing with a bionic pancreas is they can cater for the glucose highs, but the thing they're missing at the moment is catering for the lows. And the lows are the really dangerous thing because if you have a low, you can actually go unconscious and die. So the thing they need to try and replicate synthetically and keep it stable for more than 24 hours is this substance called glucagon. And normally with glucagon, that's what you give someone when they're unconscious, and you stick a big needle into their leg and pump this stuff into them to actually bring them back into consciousness again. But problem is that in its powdered form, it'll only stay, when it's rehydrated, it'll only stay usable for about 24 hours. So they need to extend the shelf life like they do with insulin. If they can do that, then a bionic pancreas is basically pretty much ready to go.
Wow.
So pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. I was going to say let's see, what have I been doing this week? Well, there was nothing, and then there was nothing. No, actually, I've gotten myself. Guy, here's how long it's been for this. I was really into Uncharted, which was a PlayStation game. Yes, and
Wasn't Uncharted the game that you were playing before Pinball Arcade?
Exactly. And then Pinball Arcade came around, and poof, there went all my online multiplayer matches that I was doing every day. And I rarely touched it again. Actually, I don't think I did touch it again on the PS3. So flash forward to having the PS4, and because my son wanted it for Garden Warfare 2. And then I was like, well, hey, they got the new Uncharted game out, Uncharted 4, so I bought that. And then at the exact same time, they're running the killer deal on the Uncharted collection. So it was, again, the tables 1 through 3, but they were remastered for the PS4. So I had bought that. And I just threw that in at the beginning of last week or the beginning of this week. I can't remember which week it was that I started messing around. And I was playing Uncharted 1, which, by the way, for those that have not played it on the PS4 and have only played it on the PS3, it looks so much better because we're talking. Well, you got to remember, Uncharted was essentially the newest game for Naughty Dog after Crash Bandicoot. Wait, no, was it Crash or was it? Because they didn't do Ratchet and Clank. They did.
That was
the other one. There was 2 that were kind of similar, Ratchet and Clank, and then there was one other, which I don't think was Crash, because Crash was a PS2 game. Anyway, they'd done that game. It was very cartoony, and it was very glossy looking. So then they do Uncharted, and all the people's skin was that glossy, plasticky looking. It just didn't look. I mean, it looked fine at the time, and then Uncharted 2 came out. And you would go back to Uncharted 1, you're like, oh my God, what is wrong with everybody? They just look wrong. So
everyone's glistening. Everyone's shiny, sparkly.
So they went back and they fixed that. And on top of that, they also Uncharted 1's weapons scheme of how you cycle through weapons, how you threw grenades, was different than what they wanted to going with the sequel and there forward. And so they remapped the controller, or remapped the control situation, so that all of the games now match. They all have the same control configuration. Same buttons do everything the same. So it makes it a much smoother play going from 1 to 2 to 3. About the only thing that changes is the graphics, more or less.
Okay.
So I plowed through the first one, and I am 3/4 of the way through the second one right now, which is just reconfirming my thoughts all along, which is it's pretty much my favorite PlayStation game. I love this. It's just so amazing. But this is also, I'm getting confused as to what I'm playing and what to expect, because I've also played the 2 Tomb Raider games, which I absolutely love. And I'm trying to think if there's another one of these puzzle platform shooter type games that I've played. It might even be just like Metal Gear or something like that. And so I'm like, oh, is this where we're gonna go run into this kind of machinery gag? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's with one of the other franchises, not this one. So it's kind of funny seeing how they're all kind of similar, but different, So I'll finish the second one probably today or tomorrow, and then go through the third, which I've only ever played through once. So that'll be fun to kind of re-look at it. Jack and Daxter. That was the.
Jack and Daxter. Was that Naughty Dog?
Thank you, honey. Yeah, that's Naughty Dog.
Oh, that was such a good game. I loved that on PlayStation 2. And I really, really enjoyed. What was the other one? The other one you mentioned before that completely eluded me. Yeah, both of those franchises were so good.
Well, it was so weird because people kind of got the 2 mixed up because they were kind of similar in attitude, similar in look, and they kept on coming out with the games almost months apart from each other.
In lockstep.
With each sequel that they would put out. So it was kind of hard to distinguish between them.
I really enjoyed the concept of Jack and Daxter. Because wasn't Jack and Daxter the one where you had to go into the outworld, all the outlying areas, and do things? Yeah, that was so cool. I still remember the big vault unlocking sequence whenever you went out of the bounds of the safe city, and just the cool really cool like areas and zones in that game where you actually start driving vehicles and you do all those sort of submissions. It was really varied game. It was almost like within the constraints of PS2. It was like a world building. It was like a large exploration game, but within the confines of a PS2.
Yeah, Naughty Dog is really good at pushing the limits of the systems. I mean, they have figured out ways of milking absolutely every last ounce of power that they can. I mean, it's astonishing when you look at Uncharted 3 compared to Uncharted 1, and they're both PS3 games. And the difference between them is just like, whoa. I mean, from complete production level, it's just astounding what they were able to do. And then they even put out Last of Us on PS3, and then that wound up being ported over to the PS4. And Last of Us, I think, was their last game for the PS3, and it's absolutely a gorgeous looking game. It's one of those survival horror games that at first I was like, oh yeah, it looks like Uncharted just with zombies. And then as I'm playing it, the difference between the two is that ammo exceedingly limited in Last of Us. And I don't do well with that. That freaks me out. I need ammo dumps everywhere.
You need to nail those zombies with all the bullets you can throw at them.
Yeah, because the way I play these games, I'm very much a sniper player. I like to tease the AI, if you will. So I'll go trigger the event that brings the AI out, and then I'll haul butt backwards so that nobody can sneak up behind me, and then I'll just pick everybody off, from the front. Last of Us, not only did it not let you do that, like the way you triggered events, you were in the middle, so you were being surrounded by things.
Great.
But then also,
so it's basically horde. It was horde mentality. They just hoarded it on you, basically.
Yeah, and then because the ammo was so limited, you couldn't just blast your way out of a bad situation. And I thought I would really like it because it was supposed to be, try and do as much stealth as possible. I was like, oh yes, I love doing stealth and sneaking around and not letting anybody see me. But it was really tough.
Yeah,
and it got to a certain point where I was playing it, and I'm like, my heart is racing, and there's nothing even happening right now.
Yeah, that is a superb game aesthetic right there. That just shows that they really got the suspense theme going right there.
It's
you
one of those
really
games
liked Metal Gear Solid, right?
I loved Metal Gear Solid. Loved it. That for a long time was my favorite game. Pretty much that was my favorite game up until the point that GTA 3 came out. When GTA 3 came out, that was just too much fun. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, it was that time as a gamer was an interesting time because people, the developers were realizing they could actually do larger worlds in these console environments.
Well, they could do that. I mean, GTA 3 was essentially the first sandbox. Or what they call sandbox games, where it's go, wander, do whatever you want. Yes, there are missions, but you can also do all this other stuff to amuse yourself. And
that's right. There's no linear way of.
No.
The only linearity with it is the fact that if you want to actually see the end of the game, you have to do all the missions. But if you don't want to do that, you can just drive around and run over people. That's fine.
Well, yeah, as my friend. We'd call each other every day, be like, "Oh my God, no, what did I do today?" And I always remember he called me up one day and he's like, "I just spent the last 3 hours sniping people's tires and watching cars flip."
Because you can.
Because you can. Yeah.
Kind of insane.
It's interesting. I just read, tangents upon tangents. See, this is what we do when we don't have a plan. I just read that the main modder program or hacker program for GTA 5 and what has been going on for probably GTA 4, they just got a cease and desist letter sent to them 10 years after having this thing going on. And
they got a cease and desist now.
They got a cease and desist, and basically, so no more modding can happen with this program. You can't. I guess Take-Two Interactive, so it wasn't Rockstar, it was Take-Two, was trying to cut back on the amount of cheating that was going on. Because I guess that was rampant also. They were uncomfortable with how much access the modders could get to the source code, basically. But everybody's kind of ticked off because Rockstar's always been very pro modders and very thankful to the community, and they've mentioned them on their website. And I mean, it's always been a very mutual relationship. So it's kind of interesting that, yeah, after all this time, and basically what the guys that created the program said, they go, you know what, we could fight it. They go, but why? It's going to take us time. It's going to take us effort. It's going to cost us money. And in the end, there's nothing we make money off of. So why? For a moral victory, it
sounds like, I think you're right on the money about the fact that the company is no longer comfortable with just the amount of cheating they can do.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if they're shutting this down. It seems weird after 10 years that they're shutting this down. But I wonder if there might be motivation for it. I wonder if perhaps the company might be changing owners or has changed owners, and they're now a little bit less liberal.
Take-Two is a pretty big. I mean, they're Activision big, almost.
They probably are Activision. Yuck.
Well, what's interesting though is because this particular program, I apologize for not knowing because I don't even play GTA 5. I don't even own it. But I guess this program was so powerful and one-stop that nobody else was developing hacker programs anymore for the game, because they were like, why? This program that lets you do it is so easy to use and is so robust, there's no point in having rival programs. So it's kind of interesting that by taking them out, they've essentially killed the modder community.
Is it called GTA5-mods.com? It's because that sounds pretty logical.
Maybe. I really don't know. I mean, that's the website. I don't know what the program. It was a program that the people used, so they could design cars, and then it would drop the cars in. They could design clothes, weapons. It was also what all the what do they call the machina people? The people that make films, movies by basically recording in-game action. I know that there was they used to do it with Halo, Red versus Blue had a whole series, but even they used the program because it allowed them to get camera angles or have people do things that you couldn't do in game, and so it's killed that. It's just interesting how wide sweeping it is.
I've just had a look at that particular page, and they have this mod that you can use for a sci-fi hover bike, and it looks amazing. And I don't know what you would replace that with, but it looks just awesome. The amount of work these guys have gone through to actually make these models and design them, because it looks like that's what they've had to do. They've had to actually design the models themselves. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Like, what a shame to actually stifle that sort of creativity. It just doesn't seem logical to me.
They said what part of the problem was happening, though, is people would log on and somebody would push a button and it would do an instant kill. And so it was like...
Well, maybe they could actually compromise and just get them to disable all of the cheat code functionality in it and just make it so they can actually mod the environments, but not actually mod the behavior of the game. Yeah, that would be a compromise for me, It just seems a shame not to be able to go in there and do all this cool stuff in there and essentially extend the game and make it look cool. I don't see the reason. Certainly for the cheating aspect, but you could actually, part of the cease and desist, you could say, well, just turn that off in your modding engine, and then that's job done. Can play on, basically. Okay.
Yeah, who knows how easy that is? Again, robust program. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
How much fun is it to go back into your code and figure out where exploits can be put?
Well, yeah, I guess it's probably one of those things where the app, the actual modding app, it doesn't really matter what restrictions you put in place on the modding app itself, because the way it probably integrates into the game and the way it's modifying the source, it means that it doesn't matter what you turn off or turn on. You're basically giving them a backdoor into the game, and therefore they can do whatever they like inside the game based on that backdoor access.
Right.
Even if your program doesn't explicitly let them, they can still hack it based on the fact they've got a backdoor.
Yeah, again, foreign territory to me. Just thought it was interesting. E3 happened. E3 happened this past week, which I guess was very underwhelming for the for the consoles. Like normally they always declare a winner of, between Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, and this year kind of all three were proclaimed losers.
Because it's all about the PC master race, mate.
Well, I don't know if
it's all about Steam.
It was all about games that were coming out, but they said that the basically it was just, here, let's run this trailer, and then let's run this trailer, and then let's run this trailer, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, and then what else you got? I don't know.
I didn't really follow it.
I usually, pay some attention to it, but this year there wasn't much. I guess, like you had the big news of Xbox One announcing the Xbox One X, which is their uber powerful Xbox. But then everybody just kind of went, is it really necessary? Shouldn't
I just get a PC?
Well, and then Xbox with Minecraft and Rocket League also announced crossplay. So if you're on the PC, if you're on Nintendo Switch, if you're on Xbox One, everybody can play with each other. And they asked Sony to be a part of it, and Sony said, no, we're good. And for which everybody freaked.
Okay,
and so,
sure.
And the thing is the reason Sony gave is such BS. Because they said, well, we really cultivate our online culture, and we're nervous about how to protect children within that culture. It's like, no, Nintendo is really, really, really that way, and they said yes. So what's your excuse?
Your excuse is a lot of crap, basically.
However, what everybody also said is this is basically Microsoft, because I think in Europe, PlayStation 4 is outselling Xbox One 3-1, and here in the States, it's,
really?
And here in the States, it's 2-1, and so Xbox is basically trying to figure out a way to, have users
pull back some market share,
right, and not make it so that people are going, well, all my friends are on PS4, so I guess I need to buy a PS4. Although, again, this late into the cycle, I don't know. Anyway, so they were saying that this is kind of their
consoles are hard.
Yeah, this is kind of their Hail Mary in terms of, well, hey, with especially a game like Minecraft, which is available on all platforms, why not, right? And to get and to get PC users, although caveat, it's not the full game of PC, it's the Windows 10 version of Minecraft, which is basically the console version.
Right.
But yeah, so it's Microsoft trying to grab something, and they go, this is something that PlayStation would have done with the PS3, battling the Xbox 360. And the response probably would have been the same from Microsoft. No, we're good, because why should they? They already got the market share. But there's such a backlash from the users going, oh, come on, let us, what's the harm? That I don't know. Sony might wind up having to bow down to it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. And that would be a funny state of affairs.
Xbox also doubled down on backwards compatibility, and that they're making it so that you can go all the way back to Xbox One once they get it instituted. Or not Xbox, the original Xbox. Yeah, with games. And then they even said, if you had an Xbox, a 360, a One, and an X, you could LAN them all together and put the disc in all four systems and then have a giant LAN party. To which everybody went, well, yes, but you're basically limited to whatever the Xbox could have played. So unless you're dying to play old Halo games, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah. Well, yeah. That's bizarre. But okay, sure. Make it a feature.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to think what else came out of E3. Said there wasn't really much excitement. Oh, well, there's a new Uncharted game.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I think that's kind of what got me into playing it, because I've yet to play Uncharted 4. I've played the first 3 chapters and that's it, which is like the tutorial, more or less.
Right.
So this is I was like, you know what, I need to play that so that then when this new one comes out, I can play that one too and be all cool. Except this new one doesn't. It's not Drake. It's the women of Uncharted.
Okay.
So interesting stuff on that front.
I've been watching the as a slight change of direction. I've been I just thought of it then. I was watching the Facebook feed from Netherworld, and they announced a new arrival to the Hellmouth, and that is Transporter by Belly, I think. I've never played one of these before.
I don't know that one.
I know it's going to be a brand new pin that I've never seen before, out of one of the local Brisbane collectors' collections, because that's how Netherworld get all their pins. They're from local collectors. So that is going to be very interesting to play. I'm almost, it'll be this Tuesday is our tournament, and I'm almost hesitant to. I was initially going, oh, maybe I should suggest Transporter as a tournament game, but I thought, well, hang on, no, because then I won't be able to play it except for that one time I get to play it.
Right.
And I actually want to I'm probably going to be pumping a fair bit of money into this outside of the tournament, just so I can actually have a good crack at it and see what it's like. So I'll be sure to take some photos of that when I go. Should be pretty good. They've also got a new enamel pin that you can earn if you are good at Pac-Man. The idea is that if you get a certain score, you get this one of these free enamel pins, and this one is a little the little enamel pin of the yellow ghost, who I forget the name of.
Is there a yellow ghost? There's blue, orange.
It's a yellow pin. I don't know if it's a yellow one. Maybe I've got my colors wrong.
I was gonna say, because I thought Pac-Man was the only yellow on the screen.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. Maybe it was reflective. Maybe the pin is supposed to capture the idea that this is actually a Pac-Man ghost. Therefore, it was a yellow ghost to sort of make the connection for those people who aren't super caught up on Pac-Man. But it looks pretty cool, and it's free. So if you crack 30,000, I think, on Pac-Man, which is not easy, but also not hard, apparently, you can get one of these free pins, which is pretty sweet.
Wonder how many boards that is.
I don't know how many boards that is. I guess it all depends on how many bonus fruits and stuff you collect along the way as well, because they would really add up. The other thing that they introduced, which isn't actually game related, but it's food related, is this concept of dessert fries. Have you heard of that before?
No, but I've heard of ice cream nachos.
The ice cream nachos? That's even stranger.
Well,
so what this is.
Yeah, tell me what yours is, and I'll tell you what mine is.
So the item, if you'll just bear with me while I go and find it. Tap, 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 tap. They announced it. They're sharing all the yummy stuff they've got on the menu, and if it's going to surface for me, here we go. I don't know. Whoever does the art for Netherworld is very impressive. They've got the theme done just absolutely spot on. Where is the post about the noms? It's down here a bit more. Okay, so the post is entitled "The Wild Dessert Demons Have Possessed the Chefs of the Hellmouth Diner." So today's Loaded Friday special, which is what they do every Friday, is fries slathered with a maple peanut butter caramel topping with cinnamon, jelly, strawberry, and ice cream.
Jeez.
I know, right? It just sounds a bit insane, but
that's kind of tasty, though.
I would give that a go. Unfortunately, it was only a Friday special, but if this is still around on Tuesday night, I am compelled to give it a go.
As somebody who enjoys dipping his fries into a milkshake, ice cream and fries love this. Sounds yummy. Yeah,
you would be well and truly over this. Yeah.
So the ice cream nachos are essentially, they take a waffle cone and they break that up into bits, so that the waffle cone becomes your chips, if you will, and then they put the ice cream on top of that. So then it's just scooping up ice cream with your chip and using it that way.
See, that's sort of in keeping with the whole dessert, like the dessert realm, though. Whereas this is bridging the gap between what would normally be something you put sauce on or gravy, and you're then putting jelly on and ice cream. Like I know potato chips can just be a carrier for anything, but not sure if it will be interesting. I really do hope they have it, because I would do one for science, basically, and see what
science.
It's like. My science, exactly right. Yeah, I would. So yeah, the tournament should be interesting on Tuesday coming up. I'll take some good shots of transporter so everyone can see it. So yeah.
What else has been going on? Jared, were you ever a Twin Peaks viewer?
No. That was like, for me, that was on at the sort of like, I think it was like when I was 12 or something like that.
No, yeah, that would have been a little young.
Yeah, I think it was like Scream when I was 12. Like, I certainly heard all about it at the time, but I just never really got into it.
It was, for the longest time, what I would say was my favorite show, or like what I would consider one of the best TV shows on the air. And it probably wasn't until I saw Sopranos that I finally went, oh no, that's my new king. But it was also the first show that I ever binged, if you will, because in college, one of my friends had recorded all of them on VHS, and I'd never seen the show, and he was like, "You must watch," and he handed me a VHS, and there'd be 5 episodes per tape, and I would consume that in basically one sitting. The next day, bring it back, go, "Give me more." It's like my pusher. So I consumed the whole series in probably a matter of 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that was great. And then as time went on, I rewatched the first season a few times. And then the second season, I rewatched only basically the first 8 episodes, because that wraps up the main storyline. And then because the network didn't want them milking the Who Killed Laura Palmer mystery, which I guess originally was going to last, like they were never going to answer it, because you had to have some reason to keep your protagonist, Dale Cooper, in the town. And then because viewers were angry that it wasn't answered you got to remember, back then, if a show ended on a cliffhanger, the first show back of the season answered the cliffhanger. And Twin Peaks didn't do that. Instead, it just kept on throwing more questions. And so viewers were angry. They responded to ABC, who was the broadcast network, and ABC went and told David Lynch, yeah, you need to wrap that storyline up. And so he did. And then it was kind of like, well, now what do we do with the show? So they spent the next 10 episodes basically floundering. And I just, in anticipation of the show coming back on Showtime, I rewatched those episodes. And, oh man, they're rough. I mean, it's amazing how much I just kind of like wiped them from my memory in terms of the quality of the show. And then what's amazing is the final episode was when David Lynch finally came back and wrote the episode and directed the episode. And it's amazing. I mean, it was like everything that is in such stark contrast to what had been happening on the show. It was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So it got me worried about this don't know if you want to call it a reboot or sequel, or they call it Twin Peaks Returns, basically. But I was like, oh, is it going to be the first season, or is it going to be those bad episodes of the second season? And so I started watching it, and it is so much more. And the way it's a good thing that it's not on a network right now, because we're now 6 episodes in, I think, and Dale Cooper still is kind of amnesiac, and there's just weirdness happening, scenes that are happening with no real story moving forward. It's just 5 minutes on a scene, and you get done with that scene, you're like, oh my gosh, that was freaky, that was weird, I wonder what that has to do with anything. So it's
what you're saying last time. It's the whole thing is that awkwardness that the director is putting into play for every scene. It's like he takes it too far, then he takes it too far again, which actually makes it kind of okay.
Yeah, it's Lynch being Lynch, and it's fantastic. And at the same time, I'm sitting here watching all these other shows, and it's just
boring.
It's not boring, but you recognize the debt that they all owe. And how much of an influence this stuff is. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh man, when this ends, it's going to end, and that's going to be it. And all we can hope for is that Lynch gets, the green light to do some other TV show. But it's fascinating stuff.
It does sound like a very interesting reboot. Probably a reboot by the sound of things, and the way that you're so enthusiastic about it, it sounds like the best way to do a reboot.
Oh yeah.
And just go all in, basically. Like not try and make shortcuts, not try and please anyone. Just do it the way you want to. And to hell with everyone else. If they don't like it, well, they can stick it, because this is how I do things.
Well, it's interesting because it's if you compare this to the X-Files reboot, you might say, that they did, which it felt like more X-Files episodes, and to which you just kind of went, well, was that necessary? Not really. Could have taken it, could have left it. It wasn't like, it wasn't one of those things where like, oh yes, they reclaimed their glory. It just kind of felt more of the same.
Yep.
So
yeah,
this on the other hand is like, oh, this is so not more of the same. It's the culmination of everything, Yeah,
that does sound good. So it sounds like if you were ever once a fan of Twin Peaks, you should well and truly get back into it again.
Yep, I said I've recommended it before, and I continue to recommend it. And plus, because it's on cable, you can just on demand all the past episodes and catch up real quick.
And do it. I think over here they're just looking at starting the first episode. Over here, there's one of our many cable TV vendors over here that got the rights to it, and I think they're either just starting or they have started the first or second episode over here now. So that shows you again why Australians torrent. Even if you're paying for the TV, you still get it late. So, yeah.
Hey, I had posed on Twitter a question that I think we've touched upon before, but our opinion might change now. The question is, because Zen has Family Guy and all extended to South Park also, the question was, will that affect if TPA ever, or not TPA, but Stern Pinball Arcade ever gets to do the Family Guy Pinball or South Park Pinball? And I think we used to think, it's going to be an issue because they might have had digital rights or whatever. But now I'm just kind of like, no, it's pretty much just up to Stern to re-up the license, and that's
pretty much
the end of it.
I think each company would have negotiated their own license terms to use the content, and I would very much doubt that there's any sort of exclusivity because, well, there's already prior art in the marketplace for both of those titles.
Right.
As far as pinball goes. So, albeit that they were actually real life pinball, not fantasy pinball. But yeah, this Fox would have just gone, oh, so you want to make a different version of a pinball game? Sure. Like, here's the bill. Pay it. And they would have gone, okay, sure. So I don't really think they care. It's just more marketing for them. Let's be honest. It's just another marketing avenue to get people into the show and the franchise. So
now, granted, you got to go back to I'm going to do a Vault edition of Family Guy because that's when they would re-up the license. Because I don't think Stern BlahCade is going to pay. They're not going to do Kickstarters again. I don't believe.
No.
So
I think that day's gone.
It's entirely up to Stern.
And I don't actually think they would do Family Guy again because it's actually not that popular. And really, the other Family Guy was one of those tables that they also did a retheme on, and it was Shrek.
Reskin on Shrek,
yeah. So really, of those tables, I would probably say Family Guy is slightly better integrated. I don't know. I've never actually played Shrek, and I don't
know anybody that actually wants to own Shrek. Nobody seems to like it because
you know you always get Smash Mouth playing Rockstar all the time on it, and it's like, no, stop. So no, that would be a big reason why not. I think at one stage the Pinball Podcast did a which would you own, Shrek or Family Guy, and I think they basically just put Family Guy an inch or two in front of Shrek, only because it was less horrible. That's saying something.
I don't know that Family Guy was a horrible pin though. I've only played it once or twice. Does it?
It gets pretty boring after a while. Like, and the sound effects, like, it's funny for the first 2 times you hear it, and then you're just cringing every time more fart sounds come in and all that sort of stuff. That's
my opinion of the South Park table.
Yeah, that's even worse.
It's so repetitive and so boring. There's not much to do. And there's only so many times you can hear those call outs because there is no story.
Terrence and Phillips saying farts.
Yeah.
It's basically the way that South Park is engineered as a Stern game is it is episodal. So each of the modes is like an episode within the game, within the franchise, I guess. And they're very narrow little episodes, to say the least. So, yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot to do in that game. It's like it'd be like getting it'd be like getting a VCR tape of 5 episodes versus a DVD where you could have like the whole series on it, basically.
Right.
Essentially, that's what that Stern South Park is. It's the VHS version of South Park. So yeah, and you contrast that to the one that Zen put out, and just the thing I love about the Zen version of South Park is the fact that they kind of played homage to the Stern one a little bit with Mr. Hanky and the multi-ball mode, but they just took it that little bit further. That made me laugh out loud when I first got that multi-ball. I just when I saw him split into three poo balls and you had to flip the poo balls around the play field, I went, oh, that is absolutely South Park. Well done. Slow clap to Stern. Slow clap to Zen, basically, because it was perfect. But again, that table, it gets long in the tooth as well. I don't really play it that much on Zen.
Well, that's because it's also one of those same thing. Spell the lane tables that you love so much.
Oh, just hate it. So boring.
They announced a new South Park game at E3. So in addition to having the sequel to Stick of Truth coming out, which looks hilarious, they're also having a mobile game that is basically tweaking all these the card game. So like I'm playing one called Clash Royale, and it's you have a deck of cards essentially, and you're picking from that deck. That's what you put on the field, and that's what goes in battles or whatever. And so,
it's like Hearthstone, basically.
No, that's why Hearthstone is very much cards battling cards. No, I'm saying it's like Clash Royale in terms of you have cards, you put the card on the table, and it is a fully animated character that just continues to battle and live.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mix of tower defense.
Okay, so your cards are essentially your player characters, and you're basically going, I want to put this player character on now so that they can interact with these other player characters and do things. Okay.
Right.
That's a bit of a different mechanic. Yeah, I haven't heard of that sort of game mechanic before.
So anyway, the trailer for the game was funny because it was like, you can play as, and I'd be like, a cleric versus a knight, or a superhero versus, and you're thinking, oh, they're touching upon some of the different variations they've had in the series. And then it just gets stupid. They're like throwing everything against everything, and you realize that that's what they're having fun with. Where it's just like, you don't care. Basically. We're just putting anything against anything. You know,
you can play as a pot versus a barbecue.
Essentially, I mean that's it. So it's pretty funny trailer if you look it up. I can't remember what the if it's Destroys Mobile or something like that. I can't remember what the title of it is, but.
If it's got if Trey and Matt had anything to do with it, it would be as risque as possible. Without breaching any ESR rules.
Yeah, but they're still doing the oh hey, it's the new kid. He's playing. We hate him, and you're the new kid, of course. So it's just ridiculing you the entire time.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh dear.
I did hear something interesting also regarding Stern and their licenses. With people working. Well, in terms of their art, basically. And one of the things that people suspected then got confirmed by somebody, that is, in the case of like Game of Thrones, HBO had all the power in terms of art.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that basically made the table look the way it looks.
Yeah, so they blame them.
Yeah, they didn't let Stern artists go nuts. Stern artists do anything. Everything had to be gone through clearance, and it was a limited art package that they were given. And apparently, this is the way it is with a lot of games. So, because everybody was asking, well, how come a game like Ghostbusters turns out the way it turns out, and then the very next, then you got this Star Wars table, which I'm sorry, it looks like so generic. It's just
another Photoshop chop shop, right? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's actually hand-drawn. But it's
hand-drawn to the Photoshop assets.
Exactly. Because I saw on there, they had the classic, there's Luke holding the green lightsaber looking worried pose. I'm like, is that not like on every single product? I think it's even on, I think that image is even on Zen's, one of Zen's Star Wars tables. Same thing with the Han and his blaster, spread leg, arm wide out, shooting the blaster. It was like, oh, there's that image again, and so and they were talking about, you look at the playfield of the Star Wars, and you've got just a couple of these characters down the bottom, and then hyperspace lines, and that's essentially it. That's the art package. It's really rather kind of anemic. I don't think we talked about this table last week, did we?
We didn't. We could probably have a go at it this week. In short, I'll say the pro version is why do they even bother?
It completely. It's the useless. Most generic table if you did the pro version. I mean,
the pen version of Star Wars. It's just a piece of crap, basically.
Well, there's no habit trails.
No.
There's plastics in replacement of kind of mild version of the rails, but they don't do anything. They don't do anything that's cool that the habit rails do.
No.
It's
really, I think Stern, the thing that annoys me about this with Stern is that a game like this relies on a minimum level of toy interaction to make the theme sell. And in this particular case, that Death Star exploding mechanism and that big habit rail that goes around, that there is the reason why people will walk up to a table on location. Now, if that location has the crappy pro version on the thing, they'll just go, wow, this looks like the game they released back in 1995 when Stern was Sega, basically. And it's just like this a rehash of something dodgy. But you put that big habit rail in that goes and blows up the Death Star, and yeah, okay, sure, I might put $1 in this. And I think Stern, the way they did the Pro was they were going, well, it has a big flashy display now. We don't really need to put too much stuff on the playfield because we've got all these cut scenes from the film and we've got this little embedded screen on the playfield. So, they'll get all the theme from that. And it's like, no, people don't care about that.
Well, like I said with Whitewater, the reason why I love the ramp in that is you want to shoot it. You want to see the ball travel on it because it looks cool traveling. So imagine instead of having this big whoop-de-doo trail that the ball goes on in Whitewater, that there was a Pro version and it was just a straight ramp going. Well,
yeah.
Okay, fine. The ball functions the same, or in terms of it going from point A to point B and scoring this, but it's now no longer something that you're like, I really want to see the ball travel on that.
Yeah, it's not making you go, I want to put another $1 in so I can earn the right to actually go and see that cool ramp thing going on.
Right.
No, it's nothing. There's no impetus to play it. I really hope that Netherworld, if they are going to get one of these, that they get at least the LE version of it. I think the lucky thing is that these guys generally would not, because they're pinheads, they probably go, no, that's crap.
Right.
We're not going to get that one. We're going to pay the extra money and actually get the LE and just be done with it. I hope they do.
The other thing is, why did we go with just the one trilogy? I don't even know if it's the trilogy. I think it might just be Star Wars and that's it. It may not be even it may not be Empire or Jedi. It might just be Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, it's like you've got the ability to completely change the game in mode.
Yeah, you've got the ability to do
the screen.
the prequels, the originals, the side stories. And you chose to use just that little part of the universe. Wow.
Which we've already got.
Way to use your imagination.
We've already got 3 tables of exactly that.
Mm-hmm. Boring.
Isn't that correct? Because we had the Data East, we had the Sega, and I think there was an older one even. I can't remember.
Or maybe there was a Hanken one that was
Hanken.
Yeah, Hanken, the Australian company who made the super wide body Star Wars one. Yeah,
right.
So
it's like, come on,
it's just so boring. I'm sorry, but the Batman 66 to me was a flop, a massive flop.
Yeah.
Aerosmith, okay. And I tell you what, as far as most street level arcade operators go, this is going to be a flop as well, unless they pay a lot more money to get an LE. I would not be buying one of these. I'll be looking at other manufacturers like Highway or Dutch Pinball or any of these other guys to get something interesting in my arcade, because Stern aren't really compelling me to spend my money on them at the moment, honestly, if I was an operator.
Yeah. And
it's really not exciting at all. But I'm probably not their target market, so I'll bear that in mind.
Well, I can say for sure I'm not your target market because I don't have the money to purchase it. I would be merely, like you said, you're the user market.
Yeah.
Just not the purchaser market.
I'm basically making my opinion. I'm making my opinions based on if I was an operator and I had to spend that much money to actually get that table and expect it to return for me, then there's no way I could do the sums to make that actually add up. There's no way. The only way I could do it is use the Time Zone Gold Coast model and buy them brand new, and then sort of have them on the rotation for a year, put them out to pasture, then sell them off while they're still relatively new, and try and get my money back in the secondhand market, because that's the only way, honestly, you can actually earn.
Yeah.
For pinballs these days, you've just got to flick them if you're an operator. It's really, it's not good. They're making it hard. Way too hard. Yeah.
Oh well. I think we're gonna wrap it up because we squeezed some pinball into this. A little bit.
We did. Just a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit of a garnish of pinball over the top of all the other stuff.
I'm stalled out at the moment on firepower, just FYI, because I'm debating if I need to mix, if I have the ability to mix the color for the off-white that it is faded to on the planet. Because I got my decals stickers, so I can make those. And I found an old art that I had at some point gotten of the planet. And so I technically could make a decal. And since it wouldn't print the white, all it would print was those little color splashes.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, do I paint? Do I not? I don't know. So that's where I'm kind of frozen at the moment.
It's a tricky decision to make because you don't want to make the wrong one. You don't know what the wrong one is until you start. So yeah. I guess the good news is that, if you were to paint and you totally screwed it up, you just wipe it off because you got clear coat down.
Yep.
And so that's actually a pretty low risk, right? So you could do it. I
could. So we'll see. That'll be this week's adventure, I'm sure. Hey, folks, why don't you go ahead and check out our website. We are BlahCadePinball.com. You can fire off an email to us. That is BlahBlahBlahCade@gmail.com. I hear kids. Yes. Perfect time to ending. See?
Yep. That's right.
Why don't you go ahead and follow us on Twitter? The show is @BlahCade, or you can follow myself. I am @ShutYourTraps. Jared is @JaredMorgs, and there you can see whatever personal things interest us, as opposed to the BlahCade podcast, which is Twitter feed, which is pretty much all pinball.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for us.
That's about it, really. For me too. I don't really have anything else. Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, thanks for putting up with us for this episode. Sometimes you get all pinball, sometimes you get next to none. Until next week. See you later.
Bye-bye.